Hello everybody and welcome to Rest and Reason. I'm RP Red Panda and today we're going to be doing a buyer's guide to Barnes & Noble, where I'm going to be going over a few categories of board games and the two games that I would choose if I had to choose just two. This is a little different than before where I was saying here's a game not to buy and a game to buy instead. This is focusing on what two games, if you could only choose two in this whole store of that type, would I say you should choose. First off, we're going to do kids games because we've all been there thinking, what game should I buy for this kid? And one of them is King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo is an amazing board game where you are basically doing Yahtzee but with cooler symbols. You're rolling dice, you're choosing dice to keep, and then you're rolling them again, and then you're choosing more to keep. But you're doing this for monsters who are fighting over Tokyo. And it's just such an inviting theme to kids. It's so much fun to roll these big dice. They're bigger than normal dice. And you're just having so much fun playing this game. Well, the adults can strategize a little bit more because there are a few elements that are in there that are good for adults to play with as well. Next up, we have Kingdomino. Now, Kingdomino is an amazing little twist on dominoes. You're putting little pieces of landscape next to each other. So yellow fields next to yellow fields, or blue sea next to blue sea. So this game is super simple at its core, but yet there's a lot of interesting decisions for adults. And this expansion that comes with this particular set is excellent for bringing this game to the next level for adults or for kids who have got past the original and would like to get into something a little bit more complicated. Not to mention, the art and the entire feel of the game is perfect for kids. So our next category of games is going to be party games. The first party game that I would recommend is Longshot. Now, Longshot is a game where you're rolling the dice and everybody is watching as this horse moves around the track, and then they can all do something regarding that horse, some sort of an action where they're writing. So it's a roll and write, a little bit like Yahtzee, but not almost at all like Yahtzee, except that you roll things and write them. And the big thing is that these kids are all competing for their horse to win the race, or the horse that they bet on to win the race. And it makes it great for both kids and adults and for a whole party. I've seen people who love strategy games love this game. I've seen people who love just relaxing and doing whatever they want play this game. It's a perfect party game. The next party game that I would recommend is Sushi Go Party. Now, Sushi Go Party is a simple pass and draft, and actually I do a review of this, so if you want to hit this link, you can see more reasons why I love this game. But as you can see, the theme is just inviting. It's super simple. It can be played with up to 8 players, so it's a great game for a party that just wants to chill out and have fun. Next up, we're going to be doing 2-player. So the first 2-player game that I'm going to be looking at is My City. Now, the reason why My City is such a great 2-player game, despite the fact that it does work for up to 4 players, is because you are both basically playing kind of like Tetris with all these pieces. And these pieces you are going to be using inside of this city to build a city. But what's really excellent about this game is that it is a legacy game, which means that it's adding new things with each new story. And they're all based off of some time in the history of America. And it makes the game exciting and new, but not super difficult. And it's something that you and whoever you play a game with a lot can just play this game together whenever you get the chance and have fun with it. And there's even a version of it for when you want to play it over and over again without it changing. Next up, we have Fog of Love. Now, Fog of Love, you're playing a couple in a game. That's literally what it is. As it says on the box, a rom-com in a box. It's literally like playing characters in a movie, which means some of you might be kind of an abusive person in the relationship who kind of wants to take more than they give. Maybe you're the person who wants to give more than they take. Maybe you want it to be equal and everybody to be happy. Maybe you want them to break up. But all of this is how the game works, and you're doing this all by influencing what's happening in the game. You're influencing how much you guys go out, how often you talk about feelings, how often you think about things, all sorts of different things that in a normal relationship would be true. And it's most fun, I've found, when you're playing it with somebody you would never think of being in a relationship in, ever. Because it just makes it that much more funny and fun, and it's great, honestly, to watch this game, watching other people play it who wouldn't make a good match play the game. It's just funny. So next up is the beginner board games. Now, one of the big ones I would recommend here is Call to Adventure. So I'm not actually going to take this down because I want to talk about both of them. There's one for Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archives, and there's one that's just about generic fantasy. But both of them have the same basic idea. You are trying to beat cards with rolling dice to get more stuff for your character and make your story more and more profound. So maybe you face some bullies and you have to roll dice to see if you can charm the bullies to stop bullying you. And that's your first part of your story as an orphan. And then your next part is that you start a peasant rebellion by, again, using your charm to get them all to do it. And then finally you become king and everybody's like, wow, you're so just because you've done all these just things, like fight a tyrant and stuff. It's just such a great game where it's super simple, but by the end of it, or even throughout the game, you're constantly looking down and saying, wow, look at that story I created. That's so cool. The next game that I would recommend for beginners is Galaxy Trucker. It is an amazing game where you are building a ship out of garbage or these random really weird pieces, and you're building out of these weird pieces, and then you're jetting off and hitting planets and alien attacks and everything, and it's just insanity. And the game literally says that if you make any money at all, you've won the game. But, you know, if you make more money, then you're the bigger winner. But what I love about this game is it teaches new players, new gamers, that losing is okay. That's what this game is. Honestly, I would call it loser truck, because loser truck is what you are. You're a truck blowing up in space, losing everything, almost every game, making almost no money, but it's fun. And that's what I think so many people miss out on in games, is losing and having fun. Next up, we have the advanced board games. So these are obviously for those people who have gotten past all of those more beginner games that I just talked about. And the first one I would recommend is Terraforming Mars. Now, I actually talk a lot about Terraforming Mars up in this video, so if you want more details, click on that link. But I'll give you a quick synopsis. You're just terraforming Mars. It's really fun. You can do it through several different paths. You have all these different things you can use to work on the planet, and you're making the planet livable. It's that simple. It's also that complicated. There's a lot of stuff in this, so it is definitely an advanced board game. But the cool thing is there's no direct player conflict, so if you want a peaceful game where you're kind of mostly just focusing on your own stuff, not other people, then Terraforming Mars is probably the one for you. So next up is Dune Imperium. Now, Dune Imperium is the one I would suggest for those wanting some conflict in their game, where you're directly going up against somebody else. And that's not going to be for everybody, so I would suggest buying this one before other more conflict-based games, because I've found that it's very difficult to find a group of players who wants to play a game full of conflict. And Dune Imperium gives enough non-conflict stuff that people who don't like it will like that. And for those who like conflict, there's enough conflict that you can have fun with it. You are deck building. You're going to build a deck of all these different characters that you are using in the game. And those characters are going to help you go do things on the planet and build up an army and fight for the power and the control of this country and this planet. And that is just a fun theme that is very inviting, but also has a lot of conflict and a lot of fun. So those are the 10 games that I would suggest that you buy before any others at Barnes & Nobles. There are plenty of other games, and I would love to hear in the comments, what of the other games do you think would be your buyer's guide games, the ones that you would suggest that people buy? Why do you disagree with my ideas? And if you agree with mine, definitely tell me in the comments how much you love that game and why. And as always, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. It helps get these buyer's guides out there so that people coming to Barnes & Nobles for the first time to buy a game can know what to buy a lot easier. And as always, thank you so much for joining us today on Rest and Reason.